Hello and welcome to Plus Pramesh E-Library. Here you are with me Supriya Singhal and we will be covering CSAT paper analysis. Now let's start with question number 25. See, question number 25 is about the genetically modified crops, where it is telling you how these crops are now being used for basically changing only one trait, but in future they'll be used for changing more than one trait. Then it is also telling you how basically we need to have a comprehensive look to see that what is the potential of technology to reduce its negative impacts and how this technology is going to be helpful in climate change mitigation adaptation. Okay, so all this is being told. Now the question is, first is that you have to see what assumptions have been made in the passage. Okay, see, obviously all this is telling you that they are talking about biotechnology in present as well as future context. So therefore option number this first statement is right, that which is biotechnology is an evolving process. So obviously this option goes now. Then first statement is right. Okay, then you look at the second statement. It's talking about people's participation, but in this whole paragraph nothing has been said about the people's participation, so statement number 2 is incorrect. So this is gone. So only remaining option is B. Okay, and even if you read the fourth statement, it's talking about political executives. See, actually a lot of people mark this as right, but it's wrong. Why? Because it's written clearly, it's talking about wider involvement of political executives, but in this whole paragraph nothing has been talked about political executives. Okay, so the answer is B, 1 and 3. Let's come to question number 26, which is asking you about the crux of the passage. See, crux of the passage is what? It is about biotechnology's role in the present as well as future context, where it is telling you it's not just confined to GM crops but much more than that. So answer is C. Then you come to question number 27, which is a maths question. It is asking you that how many zeros are there at the end of the following product. See, the point is 0 means that you have a component of 10, and 10 you can get by getting multiplication of 5 into 2. So all you have to do is you have to break this thing into multiplication of this 5 and 2 wherever it can, and then you have to count how many 2's are there. Okay, so it's 1 into 5 into 10. 10 can be written as 5 into 2. Then 15 can be written as 3 into 5. Then 20 can be written as 4 into 5, so 2 into 2 into 5. Okay, then you multiply it by 25, which is 5 into 5. Then you have 30, which can be written as 10 into 2, 10, which is, so not 10, which is basically 3 into 2 into 5. Okay, then you have 35, let it be like that only. Then you have 40, which is 8 into 5, so which is 2 into 2 into 2 into 5. Okay, then you have 45, so which is 9 into 5, so you have no 2, so let us write just 45 like that. 50 is again 25 into 2. Okay, then again you will have 55, which is same, and then you have 60. 60 can be written as 6 into 10, which is 2 into 5, and 6 again can be written as 3 into 2. Okay, so when you count number of 2's here, that will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. So the answer comes out to be A, which is 10. Can you see? All you have to do is either you multiply this whole thing, which is also easy because there are a lot of 20's in this, right? So 20, 30, 60, 50, you all automatically basically take out zeros. So 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros are gone. What you have is 2 into 3, 6, 6 into 5, 30, 30 into 6, 180. So again, you 0 is gone. What you have out of these 4 numbers is basically 18. Okay, you take out this 0 also, this is also gone, so you have 6 zeros. Then 18 into 5 is 90, again basically 0 is gone, and now you have 9. So then basically this again 0 is gone, then you have 9 4s are 36. So similarly, when you do calculation also, you will find that this is a pretty easy question, but the answer has to be 10. What is the answer? 10. Then you come to question number 28. See, question number 28 is also pretty easy question. It is asking you about a XYZ, which is a 3-digit number. See, X, Y, Z. Whenever it is a 3-digit number and I have to identify something, I always take as simple values. But what is the condition? That X plus Y plus Z is not a multiple of 3. So suppose if I take X as 1, Y as 2 and Z as 3. So then if I add them, what I get is 6, which is a multiple of 3. So this is not the case. So what do? You change 3 to 4. So what you get here is 4 plus 2, 6 and 1, 7, which is not divisible by 3. So X, Y, Z can be 1, 2 and 4. Now it is telling you what X, Y, Z will be what? Multiply X, Y, Z. 4 2s are 8, right? Then you have Y, Z, X. Sorry, X, Y, Z will be 1, 2, 4. Y, Z, X will be 2, 4, 1. And Z, Y, Z, X, Y will be 4, 1, 2. So when you add them, what is it coming out to be? 2 plus 1, 3, 3 plus 4, 7. 1 plus 4, 5, 5 and 2, 7. and then 4 and 2, 6 and 1, 7. 7, 7, 7. Now it is asking you this number is divisible by what? Just divide it. See if it is divisible by 3. 3 2s are 6. 3 5s are 15 and 3 9s are 27. Obviously it's divisible by 3. Then you divide it by 37. So you will find that 37 to the 74, remaining is 37. So therefore it is divisible by 37 also. Then if it is divisible by x plus y plus z, which is 7, 7, 7 divided by 7, obviously it's divisible. So answer is 9. Okay, if you divide it by 9, you will get a remainder. So these are pretty easy questions. All you have to do is just apply a little, just give some number to it and you will be able to solve. So what is the answer? B. Okay. Now, question number 29. It's also pretty straightforward. It's telling you P minus 2016 is equals to Q plus 2017 is equals to R minus 2018 is equals to S plus 2019. Now, it's telling you which of the following is the largest number. See, look at these numbers. It's telling you P minus something, okay, is equals to Q plus something. Correct? It is equals to R minus something and is equals to S plus something. Okay. The point is, see, what you have to see is, if you're subtracting something from something, but if you're adding something to something, that means this number is obviously smaller. That means 10 minus 2 suppose is equals to 6 plus 2. So obviously this is like this only, right? So P minus 2 is equals to Q plus 2. Okay, and similarly you will find it will be 12 minus 3. 12 minus 4 is equals to suppose 5 plus 3. Okay, so then it will be R and S. So can you substitute anything? So you will find that this is a situation like this. Okay, so what is the answer of which is the biggest number here? Then it will come out to be R. Can you see here? See, actually P minus something is equals to Q plus something. That means you have to add something in Q, then to be able to make it equal to P minus something. That means from this equation, you know, P is greater than Q, right? Similarly, from these two, you know, R is greater than S. Now, how do you know P or R is greater? You know that either P or R is greater, but which one of them is the greatest? By seeing what is getting subtracted. See, P minus 2016 is equals to R minus 2018. Which of the quantity, you are subtracting maximum 2018? Obviously, you are subtracting higher number from R. That means R is the biggest quantity. So, what is the answer? R. Okay. Then you have 30th question. So, answer of this question 29th is C. Then you have 30th question. It's talking about how many 5-digit numbers can be obtained by using all the digits 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 without repetition of digits. So, you have to make a 5-digit number. First of all, add this 5-digit number. What you have? 5 plus 4, 9, 9, 3, 12, 12, 2, 14 and 1, 15. Now, tell me, is 15 a prime number? Answer is no. Why? Because 15 has two factors, 5 and 3. So, obviously, basically it's telling you how many 5-digit prime numbers can you make. Any prime number that any 5-digit number that you make is not going to be prime. So, answer is 0. Okay. So, on question number 30, answer is A. Come to question number 31. It's talking about the private investments. Okay. See, this paragraph is about how private investment is volatile, and within private investment, foreign investment is more volatile. It is talking about FDI. It is talking about how basically FDI is creating so much imbalance, okay, between sectors, between regions. It is also creating unstable employment, and it is talking about how India is not ready for technological diffusion at this stage because of lack of physical and human capital. Now, question number 31 is asking you, what are the following assumptions that have been made? Okay, so the answer to this question is A. Why? Because let's just look at the statement number 3. It's telling you policies must be undertaken to strengthen the domestic private investment. If you read the whole passage, it is only talking about foreign investment. Nowhere has it mentioned about domestic investments, whether you want to increase or decrease. It's only talking about foreign investment. So, nothing has been said about the domestic private investment. So, third cannot be the statement, right statement. So, this is gone. Now look at the fifth statement, which is substantial public investment in the education and health should be undertaken. Okay, so you might think that this is right, but actually what happens if you make 5 as right statement, then look at the first one. relying on the foreign investment in the long run is not an economically sound policy, which is sounding more correct than 5, because nothing has been said about fifth statement that we need to have a substantial investment made, but this is definitely said in the first statement. How this is so volatile, and obviously you cannot rely on this. So that is why answer is A. See, all these questions, comprehensive types, there is a lot of confusion because it is all about perception. So you have to read paragraphs really carefully to actually be able to get the right answer. Then you come to the next question, which is question number 32. It is talking about the distribution of monsoon, how it is skewed, seasonal and spatially distributed only in 4 months, okay, and how basically rainwater harvesting should be done. There should be proper reservoirs made, but the point is, and how climate change is continuing to basically create a lot of problems of droughts, floods, etc., and so much of water of river is going basically wasted in the sea every year. So now it is asking you what is the most rational and practical implication for India. Okay, so the statements are: a network of dams and canals should be built across the country for the proper distribution of waters. Farmers should be provided easy loans for digging borewells. Now this is completely wrong. So third is properly eliminated. You know from there that second statement is right. Then what about the fourth and fifth? Usage of water for agriculture should be regulated by law. Okay, and the next is distribution of river water among the region should be regulated. See, fifth statement seems right. Why? Because it has been mentioned here about the spatial distribution of water. So that is why the answer should be B. Then you come to question number 33, which talks about education, investment and economic freedom. Okay, it talks about how investment in education will happen when people are given economic freedom to enjoy the benefits, and how basically if you tax them more, they will not be able to substantiate, because if you tax them more, that means if you're more educated, you are getting taxed more, so they will be discouraged to invest in education. So this is what this paragraph is trying to tell you. Now the question that follows, question number 33, is about the assumptions that have been made. See, here lot of people had different opinions about it. So the statements are: lower tax rates in a country invariably translate into greater investments in higher education. Now this is not written. All it said was basically see, when people, thanks to lower rates, are allowed to retain most of the higher income they gain from each incremental level of education. So you might feel that this is right. So this might be right because we know that this is given in the statement. Then come to second statement, which is: investment in the education of children ensures their economic freedom. Okay, but it is the other way around. When they are given economic freedom, then they will invest in education. So second statement is wrong, and obviously either 1 or 3 will be right, and we know that 1 was right, so answer is A. Okay, then you come to passage 4, which is question number 34. It is about the urban local bodies and how they have to sustainably deliver the water, but they cannot ensure that because of the financial mechanisms. It's telling you how they need to make it a set up a full distribution network. Then they also need to treat the sewage also, and you will find that how basically cities are not rich enough that they can meet the entire cost. So now what is the most logical and crucial message that we are getting? It is about what? It is about that urban local bodies, they are not efficient enough to meet the water requirements of our cities. Why? Because nothing has been talked about water user charges, nothing has been talked about the perennial problem of water shortage in cities, and you will find that there is no upper limit that has been given. Okay, so this is wrong, and I think the most logical explanation comes out to be B. Then you have 35th question, which is about the rich cities only can ensure their sustainable delivery of water, which is wrong because it just talks about how our cities are not rich enough, but it does not say that rich cities only will be able to sustainably deliver water. So first statement is wrong, and second statement talks about sustainably delivery of water. In cities means much more than supplying just water to households, which is true. So statement number B is correct. Then you come to question number 36, which is about this passage 5, where it talks about agriculture and how basically it is talking about its comparison with China and Vietnam, how the transformation happened, why in India there was no poverty reduction between this like 1988 to 2005, but during 2005 to 2012 the poverty reduction drastically reduced. Poverty reduction drastically accelerated, and why it happened? Because of price scenario changes in the international market. Then agriculture GDP also rose and all that. Okay, now question number 36 is about the assumptions that have been made in this particular passage. See, it's telling you that structural and rural transformation is impossible when farms are mainly small and marginal. Never ever go for these extreme words like impossible, only. So obviously statement 1 is wrong. So this is out of the question. Then you have question statement 2, which is about good price incentive can trigger investments in agriculture. That is what is mentioned here, that how good price investments triggered investment in agriculture. So statement 2 is right. So this is gone. Either B or C is the answer. Look at the statement number 3, which is about in India needs to build value chains for high value agriculture products. There is nothing mentioned about livestock or horticulture in this particular paragraph. So statement 3 cannot be the case, and you will find the answer is 2 and 4, which is option number B. Question number 37 is about the critical message conveyed from that particular passage. See, it's all about what? Actually, people got confused between this one. Private investment in agriculture or inclusive growth. Answer is inclusive growth, because this passage is all about inclusive growth. Okay, how basically your small and marginal farmers have to be benefiting from the agriculture. So option D is the right one. Then we come to again maths questions. Question number 38, which is about the statement type again. So S1 is telling you that R is greater than P as well as Q, but you don't know which is greater, P or Q. And then statement 2 is telling you S is not the largest one. That means what? S is not greater than R, because otherwise S will be the largest. So S is either here or S can be here. But the point is, who is the largest? R is the largest. So now it's telling you which of these statement is enough to tell you the answer. Our option is obviously both statements, because if second statement was not given, you could have placed S here also. So obviously R would not have been the largest one. So what is the option? Answer C. Okay. Then you have question number 39, which is about statements again. S1 is telling you n is a prime number. Okay. And S2 is telling you n leaves a remainder of 1 when divided by 4. So when you divide by 4, what you get as remainder is equal to 1. Then it is telling you, question is that n is a unique natural number between 10 and 20. So all you need to do is you need to find a natural number between 10 and 20, which when you divide by 4 will give you remainder 1. So that comes out to be 13. Okay. And first of all, tell me what are the numbers between 10 and 20 which will give you remainder as 1. It's 13 and 17. Okay. 16. Yeah, 13 and 17. And tell me both of these numbers are what? These are prime numbers also. So what is the answer? 13 and 17. So how many statements did you need to solve the question? Both. S1 and S2. So answer is again C. Then you come to 40th question. It is about what? It is about again statements. S1 is that product is 21. So how do you get 21? Either 1 into 21, 21 into 1, 7 into 3 or 3 into 7. And then it is telling you second statement as the sum of the two numbers is 10. So obviously 7 plus 3 is 10. So either basically the numbers are 7 and 3. And how many statements did you need it? Both statements. So answer is C. So C is the answer. Then you have 41st question. Again, what we have done something similar before. It is about the HCF, because it is asking you what is the greatest length x such that 3 1 by 2 and 8 3 by 4 are the integral multiples of x. Okay. So how will you do? 3 to the 6, it is 7 by 2, 32, 35 by 4. Now take HCF of this. So HCF of the top quantities and LCM of the lower quantities. HCF will be 7 and LCM will be 4. So 7 by 4, which is coming out to be 4 ones are 4, 1, 3 by 4. So answer is D. Okay. What is the answer of 41? It is D. Then you have 42nd question. So 42nd question is about the birth rate as well as the death rate. Okay. It is asking you when is the growth rate maximum. So obviously growth rate is what? Whenever birth rate minus death rate is maximum. So all you have to do is just reduce and find out where are you getting the maximum. So 48 minus 30, 48.1 minus 35.5. 46.4 minus 36.3. So here it will be around 10 something. Then 45 minus 31 will be somewhere around 14. Then 39 minus 27 will be around 12. Then 41 minus 22. Okay, that's a lot. 32, 42. Almost 19 around you will get something. Then 41 minus 18. Okay, that will be 28, 38. So almost around 22. And then 37 minus 14 will be what? 24, 34. So that will be 23. So can you see what is the answer? Answer is D. See, I'm so sorry. Okay. Okay, so there was some confusion, but it's cleared now. Yeah. So here, can you see, without even solving and getting into decimals, I'm just able to get the right answer. Okay, so this is what you have to do. So what is the answer now? 1971 to 81, which is the D option. Then you have question number 43. It is a straightforward question. It's asking you that out of these numbers, which is the one which gives you this decimal representation. See, first of all, this number is greater than 1. So 13 by 11, 14 by 11, 127 by 99 and 137 by 99, all of them are possible. All you have to do is just divide it. So 13 by 11 will be 1 point, then it will be 20, so it will be 1, then again 90, 1, 8. So obviously this is not the answer. Then you have 14 by 11, which will be 1.2, then 8, then you have 7. Okay, like this you will do, it will be 27, 27, 27. So answer comes out to be what? Okay, I think you have to solve this, because 14 by 11 will be 1 point, then it will be 3, so 2, 22, it will be 8, 87, then 3, 0, then 2. Okay, so you'll have to do this, and what is the answer? You get 14 by 11. I'm just showing you here that how you will proceed and you will get the same answer. Then you have question number 44. Question number 44 is about what is the least 4-digit number when divided by 3, 4, 5 and 6. It leaves a remainder of 2 in each case. See, I'll tell you, either you know how to solve this question, or you just divide by 1012 by 3 and see if it is giving you a remainder as 2 or not. So divide by 3, 3 ones are 3 threes are 9, 1, 3 threes are 9, 2, 3 sevens are 21, 1. So obviously 1012 is not the answer. Then you come to 1022. Okay, 1022 divided by 3 will give you will give you 2 as a remainder. Okay, similarly 1022 divided by 4 will be 4 2s are 8, 22, 4 5s are 20, 22, 4 5s are 22, again 2 as a remainder. Then divided by 5, you will get 5 2s are 10, 5 4s are 20, again 2 as a remainder. And then you divide by 6, you will find 6 1s are 6, 42, 6 7s are 42, 2, again 2 as a remainder. So 1022 is the answer, because it is giving you remainder as 2 when it is divided by 3, 4, 5 and 6. So what is the answer? B. Sometimes you don't need to know the tricks to solve. All you need is basically patience and logic to solve the questions. Then come to question number 45. It is talking about how in adult population in a city, you don't know how many males are there and how many females are there. Okay, but you know 40% men are married. So 40% of M are married, and you know that 30% of women are married. Okay, suppose if men are X and females are Y, then you know 40% of 40 by 100 of X, okay, of total X are married, and you know 30 of a percent of Y are married, and obviously you know that they are not married twice, there is no widow, etc., and each man is marrying only one woman and vice versa. So what is happening? Basically 40 by it's just a ratio question. Okay, then it is telling you that what you have to do is percentage of married adult population you have to find. Okay, so basically you have to add and see how much is the total adult population. So what you will do is you will basically 40 by 100 of X will be equal to 30 by 100 of Y. So when you will solve it, you will get 4X is equals to 3Y. So when you got the now when you know the ratio of X and Y, all you need to do is basically get the adult population which is married. Okay, so what will be the answer when you solve this? The answer will come out to be 34 2 by 7%. Okay, please solve it, because if I start solving like each and every numerical, it's going to take time, but all I'm giving you is the basics how to solve it. Okay, and the answer. Then you have 46. 46 is what is the remainder when 51, 27, 35, 62, 75 is divided by 100. See, I'll tell you, there are obviously tricks to solve this. Okay, what you have to do is 75 and then you have a 2 here. So when you multiply 75 into 2, it is 150, and obviously the remainder will be 50. But I know this logic will not be, known to everybody. So what you do is, you just simply multiply. Multiplying is not that difficult, right? So 15, 1 into 27. Okay, what will you, if you multiply them, what you will get? 1377. Okay, now you have to basically multiply 35 into 62. Okay, so what you get? 2330. So obviously just take out 0 from there. Okay, because then you have to divide by 100, so now you have to divide by 10, and then you multiply it by 75. So you will find in the end what you're getting a remainder as 50. See, it's your personal choice, but I gave you a shortcut also. If you have identified 2 here, because 62 will be 31 into 2, 75 into 2 will be 150, so answer should be 50. Okay, then you have question number 47. Pretty straightforward question. How do you solve it? See, it is telling you that you have 2500 rupees. Okay, and you have to distribute amongst 3 people X, Y, Z in the ratio of 1:2, 3:4, 5:6. First of all, convert this ratio taking an LCM into a proper fraction. Not a fraction, just the integer. So obviously here you will find that 12 is the LCM. So this will be 6, 9 and 10. Okay, now this is the ratio in which this is happening. So now what will happen? You have to divide 2500 into this ratio. Okay, so when you divide it, you will find what is the minimum value and what is the difference between the minimum and the maximum share it is asking. Okay, so what is happening? That is 6x plus 9x plus 10x is equals to 2500. Okay, so that is how much? 9 and 6 is 15, 15 and 10 is 25x. Is 2500, so x is coming out to be 100. Okay, so you will find this is 600, 900 and then 1000. So what is the maximum share? 1000. What is the minimum share? 600. What is the difference? 400. Pretty easy, right? So 47th answer is C. Then you have 48th question, which is little tricky because it's telling you 10 to the power n plus 1 is 2. Then what can be the values of n? Let's start putting values of n. What is it saying? N equals to 0. That means 10 to the power 0 plus 1 is equals to 2. Plus 1 will be what? 1 plus 1 equal to 2. Correct? Then you put n equal to 1. It will be 10 to the power 1 plus 1. This will be 10 plus 1, which will be 11. And what is the sum of the digits? 1 plus 1, which is 2. Then you put n equal to 2. That will be 10 square plus 1. Right? Then what will happen? 10 square plus 1 in the sense 100 plus 1, which will be 101. But again the sum of digits will be 1 plus 0 plus 1, which is again 2. So for any positive integer, I am getting this. What about the whole number? Obviously it's valid because whole number 0 it's working out. And what about suppose negative integers? 10 to the power minus 1 plus 1. Okay. Then also what you get is 1 plus 1 by 10, that will be 1.1, right? Which is again the sum of the digits will be 2. That means this question answer will be D. That for any real number n, you will get your answer as 2. Okay, so what is the answer? D, not A. Okay, then you have question number 49. 49 is about basically a class which is telling you that there are 3 groups A, B, C. If one student from group A and 2 students from group B are shifted to group C, then what happens to the average weight of the students? See, the point is, in a same class, you are shifting just people from one group to another. But on an average of a class, the average will remain same. So answer is C. Then you have question number 50. It's talking about how many different sums can be formed with the denominations of 50, 100, 200, 500, 2000, taking at least 3 denominations at a time. So obviously what you have to do, it's a combination question where you have to take at least 3, and how many denominations are there? 5. So 5C3 plus 5C4 plus 5C5, right? Why? Because you have to combine 3 nodes out of 5. And minimum 3, so it can be 4 also and can be 5 also. So 5C3 will be 5 factorial by 3 factorial, 2 factorial. This will be 5 factorial, 4 factorial, 1 factorial, 5 factorial by 5 factorial. This will be 1, this will be 5, and this will be 10. So 10 plus 5, 15, 15 plus 1, 16. So what is the answer? It will be 16. Okay. Then you have question number 51. It is talking about that time and work sort of questions, where it's telling you X can complete 20% of work in 8 days. That means it is completing 1/5 of work in 8 days, right? So whole work will be completed in 40 days. So in 1 day, how much is X working? 1 by 40. Okay. Similarly for Y, it is saying that 25% of the work done is basically completed in 6 days. So that means W by 4 is getting completed in 6 days. So how much is the time taken by Y? It will be 24 days, right? But in 1 day, how much can Y work? 1 by 24. So now when they work together, how much work then can they complete in 1 day? 1 by 40 plus 1 by 24. Okay. So when you take the LCM Okay, this will be 40 into 24, 24 plus this will be 64. So 4 16, and then 4 4s are 4, 6 are 2 2s are 2 3s are, and 1 5 5. So 1 by 15. That means both of them together can complete the work in can complete in one day 1 by 15 of work, right? So the whole work will be completed in how many days? 15 days. And obviously 40% of this work will be 40 by 100 of 15. So that will be how much? 5 3s are 3 2s are 6. So answer is coming out to be 6 days. Okay, this is pretty easy. All you have to do is first of all find out the number of how much X works in one day, how much Y works in one day. Then see how much work can be completed by X and Y together in one day. Okay, and after that see how much can how much time the whole work will take, and how much time then the 40% of that work will take. This is a typical like work time question. Then you have a question number 42, which is about the average speed. I don't know why people get this question wrong. It's pretty straightforward, right? The distance is same. You're traveling here, then you're coming here, then you're going again, and then you're traveling back, right? So what is happening is you have v kilometer. All you have to see what is the average speed of the total journey. It will be total distance upon total time. Total distance will be d plus d plus d plus d. So that will be 4d. And total time will be t1 plus t2 plus t3 plus t4, where t1 is the time taken from going from A to here, then again back, then again going, and then again back. So this will be t1, t2, t3, t4. Okay. Now what will be time? Time will be distance upon speed. So from the first point, distance is d and speed was v. In the second time, t2 will be d by 2v. Third time it will be d by 3v, and fourth time d by 4v. So here what you do is just replace these values. D by v plus d by 2v, d by 3v, and d by 4v. So when you actually solve it, you will get something as 1.9v as the average speed, which is basically between v and 2v. So answer is B, question number 52. Then you come to question number 53. So question number 53 is telling you these two statements are given and which of them is correct. See, the point is this is a square, and if you actually make a circle, okay, out of it, you will find your circle will come something like this. So only statement 2 is correct, where the maximum number of points of intersection of a square and a circle will be what? They will be basically 8. Okay. Then you have a typical upstream and downstream question of current. So you will find that this question also, it's pretty easy, but from 54th question we will take in the next video. Otherwise it will be too much to grasp for one particular video. So from 54th question we will meet in the next video. Do watch the analysis of GS GS prelims paper, which will be coming out today. Okay, and also the Hindi videos. Thank you.